right, it's 6 o'clock. We have a quorum. I'm going to call the meeting to order because we have limited time with the town administrator, and I don't want to keep Carter longer than we have to keep him. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, the various boards and committees representing the town of Grafton will conduct their public meetings and hearings via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. So we are going to meet by Zoom tonight. We have a quorum of the committee. We'll do a quick attendance. Irene?
Here.
Barry?
Here.
Sue?
Here.
Gopal?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
Sue Fiacco?
Present.
And our town administrator.
Present.
Okay, so we're here. I want to do our first order of business is to welcome that handsome devil with the goatee down on the bottom of my screen. I don't know where you are in your screens, but Andy, welcome. We're excited to have you on the committee. We look forward to working with you. So welcome aboard. You can say hello to us if you'd like.
Thank you. Again, hello to everybody. I'm happy to be here. Very excited for my first meeting. I think this is fantastic, and pass it back to get underway.
Awesome. So as I said, we have Carter for a limited amount of time tonight. So the first thing on the agenda is to look at the draft warrant for the town meeting. Now, the warrant that we got has 19 articles. And then yesterday, Carter sent out an email to me with an additional article that we'll let him talk about. But Carter, would it be helpful if Sue shared the screen with the warrant? And
Very
you could just
much
sort of
so.
walk us through the articles?
Very much so.
You're amazing. Give me a second.
I hear wind. Is that Gopal's background giving us wind?
Sorry, it's my fan.
No, I'm joking.
It's my fan.
I got you. So I can share mine if it'll help.
I am into open. I'm so sorry for these delays. I'm having delays today and my computer.
What are you looking to open, Sue?
I am looking to share. Yes, please, Mark.
Annual town meeting warrant.
Did everybody see it?
Yep.
Okay, so Carter, why don't you walk us through?
Thank you, Mark.
Good evening to those I've met. Several of you I didn't get a chance to say hello to as we were waiting to get signed on. And hopefully I'll get a chance to either do that before we leave here tonight or to when I see you. So in the FY21 operating budget, I'm still grinding very specific numbers. The accounting department, as you know, the town lost its town accountant, I believe, back in June. It has been backfilled with assistance from Eric Kinshirf's firm. However, their rates are substantially higher. Also, we had a person out on leave. They are returning October 1. There'll be a little bit of overlap with Kinshirf's accounting clerk. So we're gonna have to backfill that office probably in the nature of $40,000 plus or minus. There is a need to backfill the town clerk's office, both for elections, some additional requirements the state has sent forth, and the administrative assistant in the clerk's office is out on FMLA, so we continue to pay that, but we have the election coming up. So we're gonna have to figure out how to support that position. And unfortunately, our town clerk needs to take some leave time as well. So we're gonna have to bring some help in there. I honestly haven't been able to put a number to that. I've only learned of this in the last 24 hours or so. The major item within the operating budget itself will be in the town administrator's office. With the separation of the former town administrator, his severance package was paid out in full. Meanwhile, you have a recruitment firm. I think that you need to think in terms of 15,000 plus or minus. His package of services depends upon how deeply he gets involved. There's advertisements, depending upon where you recruit from. Sometimes there's travel expenses or moving expenses involved in the contract negotiations. You have, in addition to the recruitment firm itself, you do have my costs for the coming, most likely something on the order of 6 months in total.
For payday?
Well, yes, yeah.
Whose idea was that?
But I gave them the 25% off Haddad discount. They used your name and I just couldn't resist cutting the
I
price.
understand that, Carter.
What can I
understand
say? You know, the Bernie Lynch, a great firm, Mark knows them.
Yep.
Knows John Petra, knows the team. I think they're going to do a great job for you. They've said about 4 months or so, they think. Board chatted with them last night for the first time. So let's say even 4 months from the 1st of October, and then sometimes as much as 30 days for final negotiations, background checks and the like. And then unless it's what we would call a manager in transition, they can have, I don't know what's in your contract, Mark, but you know, they can range from 30 to 90 days.
Correct.
Separation. The person will be leaving their town in the midst of high holy season that will be in, you know, the last throes of budgeting. So I think, you know, you're probably all told, looking at somewheres in the neighborhood of $300,000 that the operating budget's going to need to be backfilled.
So Carter, I heard that new growth came in higher than originally anticipated in the fall and the spring rather.
It did. So, you know, let's talk in terms of just please a very rough number, $300,000 to backfill the operating budget. The chief asked for 2 cruisers. I'm thinking 1 because I don't want to have them both go down. And whenever a cruiser goes down, it means the others just get miles piled upon them. We have Mr. Canoyer's request for his tree fund, and we have Mr. Berger's request. So we're going to have to look at how we squeeze these dollars to make it fit. The fire department retirement, I was told there was nothing, but I got an email this morning that's going to be in the $10,000. You know, so I can see this thing creeping into the 450 range, give or take. Now we have $263,000 that Mark just alluded to. You had a estimate of, I believe, 650 on new growth, and it came in about $263,000 above that. You also have, my understanding is what I'm going to call a duplicative article. You had appropriated some free cash for fire department equipment. And when you did the contingent vote as a result of the override, you revoted that monies. So we start with 365. We have a little bit of free cash. I'm always reluctant to use it, especially since it's free cash that's rolled over from last year. It's not new free cash certified. The books haven't been closed yet for fiscal 20.
Will we have certified free cash by town meeting?
You will not. Highly unlikely, Mark.
Okay.
The books haven't even been closed as of for fiscal 20.
Okay.
So that's not going to happen most likely till September 30. Meanwhile, I don't know if you've gotten your free cash or not yet.
Our free cash was certified 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, mine was certified about 2 weeks ago. Mark and I are in the first 20 club this year. But, you know, as you get deeper into the year, you get more towns in there and it just takes them longer to turn everything around. So I'm going to work with the free cash numbers that were carried over from fiscal 19.
Okay,
We've got some prior fiscal year bills. I honestly don't know how much they are right this minute. I'll talk with the department heads. I'll talk with you all. Practice in my former towns is to make them take it out of their current budgets. I understand you appropriate monies. I want to talk with Mark and you all about that philosophy when we get to the motions. About 12,000, give or take, on the fire department retirement. I'm told that no monies will be needed for Article 4 and that the motion would be to pass over it.
Carter, can I ask a clarification question? This is Gopal. What was the 365 you were talking about when you were talking about the override?
So that actually broke into two elements that we start with as funds available to meet the needs of this warrant. The town had estimated when it put its fiscal 21 budget together that it would have $650,000 in new growth. However, Mary Oliver and her team and the growth in the town really knocked it out of the park for you. That's certified at $263,000 above your estimate. So that is additional levy capacity that we're going to need to use at the fall town meeting.
that's awesome.
You then had in the override, 800 and some thousand dollars that you appropriated, and 102,000 was either within that contingent appropriation as a standalone, $102,000 towards fire department equipment. However, it duplicated an appropriation of free cash that you'd made for the exact same purpose. So I start with the new growth of 263. I start knowing that I can claw back, whether I claw it back from the free cash article or I claw it back from the override article. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. That gives us $365,000 as a base with which to meet the needs in this warrant.
That's excellent.
So we're going to look first and foremost at trying to squeeze everything down to 365.
So the good part about that, Carter, is you will not have to tap into any of the override that wasn't designated for FY21.
I consider that off the table.
Good. I was going to recommend that too.
My understanding is that override is essentially to be phased in over 5 years.
That is
Not
correct.
necessarily in even chunks. And I'm not attempting to request any of the second element of the override. There's $800,000 for capital. I believe it was intended to go into a capital stabilization fund.
That's
and then
correct.
appropriated out of that.
Yep.
So I'm not asking for a dime of that in this warrant at all. So the only thing that's going to hit out of that $4 million override, the only thing that's going to hit your books, your tax levy, was it about 832,000, I believe, maybe you appropriated? Is that somewhere?
Sounds about right. Between the schools and the fire department, that sounds about right.
Right.
Yeah. Excellent.
The operating budget, I sent to Mark yesterday. I didn't get a chance to plug it into the warrant yet. I have been advised that the town has deficits when the books were closed or about to be closed in 3 accounts. One is in debt, 71,000, give or take. One is in streetlights, 4,000, give or take. And one is in HR salary, $58. If I could write the check for the 58 myself, I would, but I can't. So that we're going to have to tap the free cash that has been held over from fiscal 19 that you didn't spend during fiscal 20. That's going to be in the neighborhood of $75,000. $76,000 when all is said and done. I do not intend, I am going to try to not tap any other amount of free cash. So my intent is to do my very best to move the requests, different requests of the departments down into this 365. I would love to tell you, I'm positive I can get it done, but as of tonight, I cannot guarantee you that.
Thank you.
Article 6, I don't have it yet. I understand that's somewhat of an annual article. Article 7, 8 and 9. I think we really should get the CPC people in to address those. I quite frankly am not familiar with them. I believe, do you have a representative on the CPC?
I don't think, do we? I don't think so.
No, they are scheduled, John Stevens is the chair of the CPC, and he is scheduled to come in on September 30th at 7 PM.
Oh, so he's gonna be our first. So
Yes,
just
he
skip over those.
Yes.
Jump up to Article
Perfect.
11.
Perfect. 10 and 11, apparently in 10, you appropriated some CPC monies to prepare this baseline report, which you cannot do. It needs to be town monies. So you're rescinding it in 10 and appropriating it from town funds in 11. My understanding is that 12 is an annual fall article. And we'll get, you're probably calling Paul Canoyer in to talk about that one, Sue?
I
Oh,
don't
that's
have.
it.
Paul-
We don't need to, Carter. That's the annual appropriation
Okay.
that
Mhm.
gets done every fall.
Sure. Article 13, I can almost guarantee you I'll be squeezing the number down. Paul actually, through Becca, requested closer to twice this amount. But I'm really trying to live within that 365, if at all possible. And again, I do not want to make any guarantee of that tonight. So 14 and 15 are actually going to be merged into one article. It's going to be a 3-paragraph article. The first one will relate to striking the town administrator's ability to appoint a board of fire engineers, the fire chief, fire wardens, and other fire personnel. And I can talk about the charter process in a moment. The second paragraph in that article, for whatever reason, you duplicated some of the charter in your bylaws. So you put the TA's appointment powers in the charter, but then you restated them in the bylaws. So the second paragraph will be to strike the town administrator's authority to appoint a board of fire engineers, fire chief, fire warden, and other fire personnel. The third paragraph is the board wants to install a strong chief via adoption of the statute. So the third paragraph will be the adoption of the statute, and there's going to be a trigger clause in it, which will take effect upon approval of the bylaw amendment and ratification of the proposed charter amendment. Because until the charter is amended, you will continue to have a board of fire engineers under the terms of your charter and under the terms of your bylaws. So we wanted to make this all as one package, but because of timing, that third paragraph adopting the statute will have to have this trigger clause in it. Otherwise, you would be adopting the statute prematurely and you would continue to have this conflict between your charter and your bylaws. 16 and 17, I suspect you all know something about these.
We're familiar with them. As are we are 18.
18, I have spent some time with the chair of the committee, laying out what I think would be a good working relationship to get the insights of these additional people, and to frankly lift some of the workload off the TA. Provided the committee understands at the end of the day that the charter responsibility for submitting the capital budget is the TA's. So I've laid out for her, and I'm sure Mark probably does it pretty much the same way. You score each project, you rank them number 1 to number 45 in the upcoming year. The other years are what I affectionately refer to as a wish list. And then if the capital committee, if the scoring, they want to change a little something, they explain why, then the TA takes it and does. And the example I would give you are 2. I had 1 year in which the capital committee proposed acquiring a new ladder truck, $1.25 million. I had $700,000 that year, and we didn't want to add debt. In the following year, we had some debt coming off the books. So we just simply appropriated the fire truck in year 2 and smoothed out the debt. So no, I did not fund item number 1. And I explained why. And I think people understood. And Marco liked this one. They funded the periodic total revaluation as somewhere's down around item 28. So it's mandatory. You
You
can't
have to do it.
you have to do it. It's statutory. You can't set a tax rate without it. And so I had to drag it up to item number 1. And I think that as long as the town administrator looks at it and explains to the capital committee why things may be out of order a little bit, and there's a mutual respect where the town administrator appreciates the insights and the help he's getting, and the committee, I've seen some committees get to the point where they think, well, no, that's our plan. You must fund it exactly that way. I think if each other knows the roles, knows the process, and respects each other's roles, we could have a very productive working partnership here.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Article 19, the rear ramps, particularly the one to the early voting center, are in a substantial disrepair. We can't afford this amount of money unless I'm willing to go deeper into free cash. The chief in Article 20 actually asked for 2 cruisers, so I've already talked with him and told him, how about 1 cruiser and a few dollars to keep the other one alive, and then we'll get back on cycle. He can make his case to the capital committee. There are substantial repairs needed to the 2 cruisers that Chief Crapo will talk you through. And as you know, if 1 cruiser goes down, that mileage just gets picked up on the other cruisers. And in a year in which you don't replace cruisers at all, I find maintenance costs can jump substantially.
Yeah, you got to.
It is extremely difficult to get back on cycle. There's work to failure, which is great if you're a large private company and you have a great deal of flexibility and good cash reserves and nominal lead time to get anything you need.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's replace to plan. I'm of the latter school of thought.
Carter, can I ask a question on Article 19?
Please.
Is there any grant money available or any, I know there's some handicap grants out there for accessibility grants, I should say. Have we looked into any of those?
Given these are repairs to existing ramps, they're not introduction of new ramps. But a year ago, I think you had the Center for Living and Working in, didn't you?
Yep.
And did a complete review. Jim Mazik and the folks from Center for Living and Working. Let me pull that out and see if it identified something.
Okay.
The one that's of greatest concern to me is the one and truthfully, I don't know if we're going to get it repaired this fall, is the one that comes in the back to the gym where the early voting occurs.
Yep.
You get into the veterans area, get into the Council on Aging. We'll look at that, Mark. We'll look at that.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing the screen right now and ask the committee
That's the
if there are
best
any-
brief I can give you on those.
No, that's a great summary. Thank you, Carter. Barry,
Yeah, can I go back to Article 18? On
the
the
capital
CIPC
plan
thing?
article? You want it back on the screen?
I've got a copy here.
There you go.
What I didn't see is some kind of task that says they will actually report on some periodic basis on, for example, the delivery of approved projects or researching best practices. Does it make sense to add another letter that says report every X months?
Well, Barry, the CIPC is meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. I think that may be something that we want to ask them. Are you available to jump on their meeting at 8? Or would you like us to reach out to the chair of the committee afterwards and ask that question?
Is that for me?
Yeah, I'm asking, do you want to go to the CIPC meeting tonight and talk to them about that?
I don't, if I have to.
All right. I think that'd be the way to ask that question, because it's their article that they submitted to the select board for submission on the warrant.
Yeah.
Todd, do you agree with that, or do you have?
So let me observe upon two things in this article. One, there's no requirement that projects be submitted to the CIPC before they be presented to town meeting. I have mentioned that to the chair. With respect to reporting, I think that there's and Mark has this same challenge. There's a balance between making sure people know what's going on and get updates without burdening them to a degree where we spend all of our time writing reports and memos and updates. I am currently in discussions. We have a department head meeting tomorrow and have talked with the board. I work from a team approach: development services, community services, finance team, public works team, public safety team. And for the time that I'm with you, I'll be asking those teams to make a quarterly report to the select board. And part of that report is on their goals. If they had goals for their department, goals on their expenditure, I would think that we could perhaps clip some of that out that could then be packaged to be sent off to the CIPC. So we're not writing something specific, but that could be sent along in some fashion so that they can get that insight. They can ask what's going on. They can say, hey, Carter, a year ago, we gave you $200,000 to start engineering on Main Street Bridge, and we noticed you got everything else going on, but this thing hasn't moved. And this is a real world example. And I'll have to explain, well, yeah, you did, but here's what happened. Here's why our eye got off the ball. Here's how we're getting our eye back on the ball. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but it is the CIPC's bylaw, and I am trying to tread lightly between, I'm here for the short term. I'm here to try to not take on any new, to make sure I don't run the boat on the rocks and put new leaks in it. And then I can keep it moving, and I can get it into port with a budget for consideration by your annual town meeting.
Well, that's a good segue into a question that I had while you're here. You had sent out, or you're proposing your budget schedule in terms of revenue projections and getting ready to go into the budget season. You want to just very briefly update the committee on how you want that process to work and what you expect from us?
Sure. So let me tell you what I normally do and how I do it and where I'm on. You folks are a little bit earlier in the pipeline than I normally in. I'm normally delivering budget last week of February. you have a more accelerated schedule. So, and we have less boots on the ground, and I don't have the institutional knowledge. But normally what I do is by late October, first meeting in November, I circulate out my revenue estimates for the coming fiscal year. My methodology is pretty straightforward. I will send that to you. I do not put in any revenue estimates for House 1. They are what they are. I've been in this business a couple of years now, and I have never seen, except 1 year, in which the final local aid revenues was lower than House 1. It's only been 1 year. Frankly, we have no clue what's going to happen. Right now, they don't even know what fiscal 21 is going to be. They're projecting a deficit of $5 billion that they think they're going to wipe out with application of the rainy day funds of $3.5 billion. I don't think there's an economist out there today that can predict with any degree of reliability what is going to happen over the next 18 months or 24 months. I will get that out no later than the first week of November. Happy to come online and explain it to you. I explain it to the select board. I will give you the text of what my methodology is. And I ask if you have questions. I ask the select board if they have questions. You know, if there's some tweaking around the edges we can do so that I can get consensus from everybody. I'll always throw the towel in a little bit if I can find consensus. If we're miles apart, we'll have to sort that through. But my hope is that after folks have looked at it for about 3 weeks in total, I then ask the select board to vote on it. And that way, when I bring the budget in, the debate is upon how we propose to spend the money, not are the revenue estimates off the mark. With rare exception, I've never had to change the estimates midstream because of the way I do the budget. Mark, I always have, frankly, the overlay allowance for overlay and abatement a little bit heavy. And then if my revenues come in less or my school appropriations come in, I
Write
get
that down.
down. I have a floor. I can only, and if they come in a little bit higher, I bring it back up. But it's the first expense item on my budget sheet is the allowance for abatements.
Well, I have to tell you, Carter, I like the process. I'm glad you're gonna look for input from the finance committee early on in the process. That's something that we haven't, and Sue, you can talk about that for the last several years. That's something that we haven't been involved in. And last year, before town meeting, we really pushed back hard on the revenue estimates. It's nice to be in at the beginning instead of coming in at the end. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate you.
Amy's going to do that for us. Becca was going to do it, but Amy is going to tackle that. I've asked her to have it ready in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
So that's going to give me around October 15. I'll need a week or so to look at it because I'm not there full. The team isn't there full time. So I'll
Understood.
try to get it out to you before November 1. I will warn you, my gut is I'm a little more conservative than your prior estimates, which is good.
We like conservative.
However, it means less expense. Let's
Understood.
be straight. Let's be honest with the people.
Yep.
If we're conservative on the revenues, it means less spending.
Understood.
It also means healthier free cash.
So will you have, so go, Sue Roberts, you have a question before I ask mine?
Yes, I just wanted to ask Carter if he's going to have an opportunity to sit down with the department heads to work out capital planning. I know it's really off kilter for this year. I don't know what your plans are to cover that issue.
We've taken that book and everyone's going to be thinking we're reading it upside down.
Okay,
We will, after agreeing, the chair of the CIPC was kind enough to give me a look-see at the form they'd like to use.
Yep.
I had some questions and some comments. I shared with them a couple of scoring sheets that I've used in different communities. I think one kind of hit home with them more than another.
Mhm.
So I'm hopeful that tonight they will settle upon a form they want to use. They'll settle upon a schedule and some guidance. We're going to package that up and send that out on behalf of the CIPC. All requests will come back to us and we will package them all up and send them to the CIPC. The
Excellent.
CIPC will score all of them. They will send me a list of all the projects scored highest to lowest. I respect their review. I will then do what I need to do, and I hope they will respect my role in the process. I have no intention of having a capital summit. I don't see.
Would work it in.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I
we're really
agree with you.
standing it on its head.
Yeah.
But I think that in the long run, if each side respects the role of the others, it could be a productive process.
I did.
I will say just one thing, if I might add, please. Normally I give some guidance on what I think we're gonna have for maybe some cash, maybe we have something coming off lease. We can either have that as a cash or we can do another lease, or as I mentioned in the example of that fire truck, maybe we have some debt coming off a major piece of equipment. This year, I'm not gonna be able to give the CIPC any guidance as to what I think we're gonna be able to spend. I'm
Well,
just,
you do have some money that was set back from the so-called super park that went into a capital stabilization fund. You have 100,000 sitting there. So I think between that and free cash, I think you can do some nice things with the capital budget this year. Not as much as you probably want to do, but there is the opportunity to address some of the needs of the town, both school and town municipal side going into next year. So
I will
That's good
say
to
my
hear.
understanding is you usually spend about $1 million a year.
that's
Yeah.
been about the practice. Yep.
With due respect, I think that's a little bit lean for the size of your fleet, your
Right.
rolling stock.
Understood.
And your buildings.
Yep.
I also don't want to underestimate the 2/3 requirement to get any money out of any of these stabilization funds.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be, so when you say, are we gonna have that sort of staff summit? No,
Okay.
it's all going straight to the CIPC. They're willing to take on the workload. I'm willing to not have to handle it. And I think this could be a nice process.
Yep. I agree. And I did read your memo, but I just asked that question because I wanted my fellow finance committee members to hear it from you, what your process was going to be.
Yeah.
While we're all sitting here together. And if you would just look at some of the warrants to see if there's any that are be closing out or we could close out, that might be some extra money as well to put through to capital. We have a lot of warrant articles out there, so.
The free cash looks forward to the input to the canceled projects. I gotta
So
be
Connor, I
honest
know
with you.
we have you for a few more minutes.
We can keep going. This is my priority for
Okay.
tonight, Mark, so.
All right. So that said, does any other member of the committee have a question? Barry?
Yeah. Article 19. This is for the ramps in the front and the back. 100,000 to repair them. Seems like, why don't you just use 100,000 and put new ones in? Seems very expensive.
Well, in this case, repair is essentially replacement.
Didn't we just put
We did the
concrete
front,
in for
Barry.
one of the one in the front?
We did the fronts, the ones in the back is what he was talking
It's
about.
the one in the back, replacing the diamond plate, one in the back that goes into the Veterans Hall, I think you call it.
The
The
seating,
gymnasium. And also down at the very end of the building on the, sorry, I don't know north, south, east, west, but the high school side, those rear doors, a lot of problems, wind
Okay.
blowing in, rain driving in. And those are doors that you still have on the building that are the splits. They're not the modified where the one door is power activated with the full proper width for ADA accessibility.
Okay.
It's expensive. And wage rates, you know,
All right, I got it.
yeah, public construction in Massachusetts is, it's expensive.
It's true. It's true. Any other questions for Carter on the budget? Oh, and Sue, we should probably, for the record, note that Dan, Eric, and Heather have joined us, or they joined us at the beginning of the meeting. Okay, moving on the agenda, the next thing on the schedule is to review the dates of the hearings of the Finance Committee for the warrant. We have Wednesday, September 30th, Thursday, October 1st, and Tuesday, October 6th, if necessary. Any questions, any problems? Are we going to be able to get a quorum those nights? And those will begin at 7 PM, not 6, for the record. Everybody good with those dates? All right,
Select board, select
Go ahead.
board, Mark did schedule a special meeting for the 29th to sign the warrant. We'll have it to you the next morning. Ink signatures. We'll get them done and off to you as soon as we can, but you'll
the
have the
vote that
final.
matters. It's the
Yeah.
vote that matters to certify. it.
yeah.
Sue, as far as the schedule on the 30th and the 1st, how have you set that up? Have you
So-
scheduled things?
We have scheduled just a couple of things, but I guess most importantly, while we have Carter here, Carter, will you be able to make it to the public hearing on October 1st, which is Thursday, 7 PM?
You're really killing me on date night, but sure.
That
that'll
will
be-
help us to finalize those numbers that you're talking about today so that we can do a final vote and so we can get the print.
I want to be honest with you. The final numbers remain a difficult work in progress. So on that evening, I'll get you everything I have. But if I'm still not locked in, I'm going to be honest with you about
Understood, Carter.
what I can't lock in and where I'm going to be before I can do that.
Understood.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions on the public hearing, Gopal?
No, it's not related to the public hearing. Can I ask another question related
Of
to
course,
that? Bernie?
of course, yes.
And again, this is just, I'm so new to this, so I'm just asking a question from a procedural perspective. Related to the TA search and also the severance package and all that, does this committee get consulted to know what this might cost the town? Because it's
That's what the
really
Article
happens
1, yeah, that's what Article 1 is. And Carter will have those numbers to us and we will be able to comment and vote and recommend and do all that. So absolutely. That's our
No,
role.
that was not my question. It means if Carter comes back, I think
Yeah.
it's going to sound like $500,000 because 300,000 for the search plus Carter's expense, Carter's salary, plus I think it was about 170,000 give or take in terms of severance package. So was this committee consulted before any actions were taken? I'm just asking a procedural question.
Oh, that, we were not.
You are not.
No.
Is that
That's in the purview, of the select board.
okay?
And most of those are contractual, Gopal.
Yeah.
Abide by that.
Go ahead, Carter.
I heard Gopal say 300,000. So that's collectively amongst a number of things. So you had money in the budget to pay out the severance package.
Okay.
But once paid out, you don't have money for the recruiter, call
Yeah.
it 15,000. You don't have money for me. And you don't have money for, let's call it 4 months of your permanent TA. There may be a few dollars we can squeeze out with Ms. Meekins, but some of those dollars I'm going to end up doing some different things with.
It can cover your salary.
And somebody has to support CIPC.
Yep.
Becca did that. She's not there.
Yep.
Somebody has to support budget. So we're going to have to, town accountant, we weren't able to hire one. So I suspect, given the method of budgeting that you use, that we're going to be looking at, a series of transfers at your annual town meeting to align some of these departments. you don't use an omnibus budget or a department bottom line for the department. So I think you need to keep in the back of your mind that you could be looking at a substantial number of transfers, just to get everything lined up in the spring.
Understood. So Paul, does that answer your question?
Yes, I just had
Go
one
ahead.
more question, given the situation
Please.
that we are living in. Given all the expenses and all the things that every department has to do, whether it's the police department, schools, fire department, because of COVID, sanitization, hand sanitizers, and markers on the floor and all that, do they have enough money to meet their needs?
Well, yes, the state has set aside for the town of Grafton an Emergency CARES Act funding, $1.6 million.
Got it.
We've taken in 700,000 of that thus far. There's
Okay.
still $800,000 left that the town will be applying for when they open up round 2. And that'll be used between the school department and the municipal department.
Got
So
it.
those types of things will be covered
Okay.
through
Thank
the
you.
CARES Act. Carter, have you heard when they're going to allow us to apply for round 2?
I have not, and the CARES money is terrific. The challenge is some of the
Pending by December
regulations aren't
30th.
as clear.
Yep.
The current December 30, and just the turnaround time, we
They're going to
submitted,
have to change that date.
we submitted a package in one town and they said, initially they said, just submit when you want. Then they set a date,
Yep.
We got in like 3 days late and they said, oh no, you have to resubmit. This is not the smoothest process. The money's there. It should cover everything we have, but it is challenging, the paperwork, Mark. I'm sure you're fine.
Oh, yeah, we're going through it right now in Groton, so I understand, Carter.
Yep.
All right, any other questions on that? Okay, next on the agenda is the webinar series scheduled for the annual meeting of the Association of Finance Committee, October 22nd, 29th, and November 12th. Sue?
Excuse me, Mark. Is this a point at which I might be able to go and join my
Yes.
other meeting?
Please
Folks,
do.
thank you very much for your time. I look forward to working.
Carter,
with you.
thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Bye now.
Go ahead, Sue.
I was going to ask you if you were going to ask him the questions I had sent you.
You sent me questions?
I did.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I
That's
didn't
okay.
see him. I didn't see him. So I'll tell you what, I'm meeting with him tomorrow.
Okay.
So I will ask him those questions tomorrow.
Okay. It's all town meeting related, such as how do we print? Can we print in-house?
Okay,
The
I'll handle that
logistics
tomorrow.
of Town meeting.
I
Okay.
apologize. I didn't see the email and I'm failing as chair. If we need to recall that right now, we can. I apologize to the committee.
I'm right behind you today. Today's the day.
So Sue, do we need to sign up members to attend those sessions?
Yes, you need to register, and it's $25 for the 3 webinars. And which is being done differently this year, obviously. So we have the dates, and we can, if everyone can think about it or take a look at that email and see if they're interested in going or attending, then next week, 9:30 would be a great deadline for me to be able to get everybody registered.
So
What day of the week is this and what are the times?
On the agenda, you have, and I'll send it again, actually Barry had sent it, Barry's on top of it, let me tell you. The dates are October 22nd, October 29th, and November 12th. They run
Right.
from 7 to 8:15 PM.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah,
7:15.
$25 for all 3
per member?
per member. We're all, and of course, you're all members. And so if, like I said, if you can let me know, I can submit your name and your email, then you'll receive a panelist ID number so that you can participate.
Did Andy get a copy of Barry's email outlining that? Andy, did you get that?
I don't think Andy did get it yet. I'm not
All right,
sure.
Because I'm gonna imagine, Andy, you're gonna want to attend some of these, so if we can get that information to Andy and go, Paul, you must have received it.
I'm going to look. Who was it from? Oh,
I will send it
Barry.
again to you.
Okay,
I forwarded it from Barry. I will send it again. And if you all can keep an eye on it for next Wednesday to confirm that you can attend or not, that would be great.
Um,
go ahead, Barry.
I did send that. My experience with the Town Finance Committee meeting is that the presentations, maybe one of the 3 or 2 was valuable because it was a hot topic that I was very interested in. But the real value was in actually meeting with other people from other towns and hearing what they were doing and not doing and getting ideas. I know this is only $25, but well, I'm not gonna say don't do it. You might get some value out of it. But
The in-person,
Even if it's
it's not the
$25.
same, it's not the same as the in-person, is what you're
no,
saying.
not even remotely.
But I think for Andy and Gopal, who are new
Yeah,
and haven't participated in anything before, I think they'll find any topic helpful since they're so new.
I
You know,
agree.
you've been on the FinCom for many, many years, as have I.
Many
and
years, yes.
Many
yes.
years, yeah,
I know everything.
you do. So anyway, I would encourage Andy and Gopal to participate. That's just my
Yes.
2 cents.
Yes, you must participate. You must.
Barry, did they all,
can you give a 1-minute overview of what this is?
Barry cannot give a 1-minute anything, so I will try.
The Association of Town Finance Committees is annual. They usually get together at some cool place and they will have a presentation on, for example, Budgeting 101 or last year, the guy from Northborough, who is sort of a name in this area, did a presentation on how to win the, what's it called? The Government Finance Officers Association Award for cool budget book. I don't know. I forget some of the others.
But
Other guys
basically,
have gone.
Gopal, it's a state organization of all the municipalities' finance committees. They get together once a year for seminars and classes and things like that. I think you'll find it for your first year on the FinCom helpful to attend.
Okay.
Now-
To introduce you into the process. Go ahead, Sue.
Barry, I just wanted to ask, because I saw the dates. What are the presentations are they going to be doing for an hour and a half?
I didn't even pay attention to that.
So I'm on the
Are
website.
they all different, or are they all the same?
No, I think they're different each night. I think there are 3 separate
Okay.
seminars that they're
So we
doing.
Pitch what seminar we want to attend. that.
Correct.
We have to do all. 3.
Correct.
All
Or
right,
you could do all 3 if you want,
if you want, but
if
all
you
right.
want.
I'll go on the website and see what the presentations are. So when it's in person, Paul, though, they have a speaker that comes in that's usually really good. They start the conference off with the speaker and they also have their annual meeting, so there's votes taken. But usually the topics are pretty good, especially if you're new and you get a bigger selection of where you want to go. But when you've gone as many times as we have, the selection gets a little slimmer each year. But it's still good to just network with the finance committee members and see what's going on in other towns and
Okay.
how things are going with them. So I recommend that you at least Zoom this year. Maybe we can do it physically next year, hopefully.
Hopefully, Sue, hopefully.
I'll give a quick overview. Am I mute? I'm okay.
No, you're up.
The opening one on the 22nd is the business meeting. There is going to be a legislative update from John Robertson, who's the MMA legislative director. And then the session called Budgeting 101. So Gopal and Andy, that's the one you guys are looking for. That's
Yep.
the one I think all of us attended the first time we went.
Yep.
On the 29th, the Division of Local Services, DLS, you're going to hear that a lot if you're not familiar with the acronym. 2 of their people are going to be giving an overview of what DLS is and what they do, and best practices targeted at FinCom members. And then November 12th, it says they will focus on schools and education.
So, those are 3 really good topics for the 2 new members to really learn about processes. So if you can, I know you guys are busy, but if you can make those dates, that would be, I think I would encourage you to try to attend those. Go ahead,
So
go Paul.
what was the timing that you said?
7 to 8:15.
Just sign me up. So
Okay.
I'm all good. Thank you.
You're
Thank you, go
welcome.
Paul.
I was just looking at my calendar. I'm good.
And Andy, you let Sue know if you want to go. And by the way, anybody else on the FinCom that wants to attend, let Sue know and she'll register you for it.
Yeah, because you're never going to do it for $25 ever again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Exactly.
Sue, sign me up.
I was gonna say, Sue,
Okay.
because I definitely want to do the first two. I'll probably end up doing the third one as well.
And Heather, Eric, are you guys interested in attending any?
No, it's okay. Not this year.
I'm
Heather,
gonna
that doesn't surprise me.
check my calendar and I'll email Sue.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
So I'll do the 29th and November 12th.
Anybody else? All right, excellent. Next on the agenda is the preparation of our budget for FY22. I would suggest to the Finance Committee for now anyway, that we submit a level funded budget for next year, no increases, given what's going on with the state and the town. We may get a reduction, but for now, I would like to recommend that we submit. I know we have time because we've got another couple of months, but I would recommend we submit a level funded budget. Does anybody disagree, agree, comment, ideas? Go ahead, Dan.
So just with Sue's position, did we figure out that Sue is at like a comparable spot for, you know, the work that her job includes, like, or should we consider adjusting that amount?
I think we did that last year. I think we increased it to address that, Dan, based on somebody had done a study, either Colleen or was it Erica had done a study to show where you should have been.
Colleen did that.
Colleen did that. And so I think we voted to do that last year. And correct me if I'm wrong. So I think we're in good shape for the position to hire somebody. Granted, we're going to have somebody new next year if COVID ever ends. The only reason we want COVID to continue is we get to keep Sue
You're right.
through it. But that's not really, I don't think people would be happy, Sue, if that was the reason that we wanted to keep COVID going.
Yeah, that would be.
I'm just trying to be
a
funny.
Good thing, no, but we are finally, honestly, Dan, thank you for bringing that up. It is, I feel that Finance Committee is finally at a hourly wage where it's workable. It's really, it's as I've had to reflect and prepare for the next person, I'm kind of amazed at how many hours, et cetera, go into this. And it's certainly not a 10-hour work week, regardless of any factor at all. It's we received the job description today that has been drafted, and we will look at that in an after town meeting. But it's not a 10-hour work week ever.
No, it's not.
I'd love to say it is, but it's not.
Well, I have to say, for my first month or so here as the chair, I depend on Sue very heavily to keep me in the loop. And as you saw earlier tonight, I didn't even see her email. So we really need to have that person involved. So thank you very much for all you're doing for us.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me.
We're very lucky to have you.
Yes.
Do we want to, Sue, do you want us to vote tonight just to get it off the table that we're going to submit a level funded budget? Do you want us to wait until after town meeting?
Oh, I wanted to bring up to you, and I'm going to say this kind of gingerly. I'm not sure if we're having a problem with our laptop or not.
Yeah, but we can
And
deal with
that
that through a
would-
reserve fund transfer and buy you a new one if we have to.
That would, well, there's the new equipment portion of the budget that we only use in situations like this.
Yep.
But that would be the only reason why I would suggest that we put something in for either new equipment or to even see if there's a newer laptop available shortly.
Well, I wouldn't want to wait. I wouldn't want to wait until fiscal 22 to replace it. If we need to replace that computer, we'll do it now. And if we have to do it through reserve fund transfer, we'll
Right.
vote on reserve fund transfer. Go ahead, Sue.
Mark, I just wanted to remind you, if you had looked at what I sent out for the school department,
Yeah.
they're in their material packet, but the very last page where there are 22 challenges, they said that all bargaining units are for one-year contracts for FY '21. So you may want to talk to Jay and see if he could even possibly do level funding.
Oh, I was talking about our individual department budget,
Oh,
our
just our
finance, just our
department.
budget,
Oh, I'm sorry.
our budget. I'm sorry if I
I was
wasn't clear.
panicking a little bit here and I thought, wow, oh no, level funding, I think
No, I was talking about our finance committee budget for FY
I
'22.
can breathe a little easier. I was holding my
Can I
breath.
just say something? Can I just say, you were very, listen, Sue, you were very diplomatic calling me out on that. So thank you.
It took me 2 or 3 minutes to figure out that you are actually talking about this committee's.
This committee's budget. Yeah, I
Because
apologize.
I remember
Same thing. I thought you meant the whole town at first.
No.
It took me a while to figure out you just
Took
meant
me
the
about
town.
like 15 seconds, but I also did have that moment of, wait, we don't do the budget.
I was like, the TA.
I'm sorry.
The TA just even told us he himself doesn't know, but Mark says, nope, it's level.
So we need to learn. I need to learn to be more clear. I apologize.
The
But
reason
Sue, you are awesome. I love how you gingerly address that subject.
Well, the reason I assumed that you were talking about the whole thing is because Carter wanted to discuss with us how we wanted to look at the budget.
Yeah.
And suggestions for him. So I jumped from there to your.
Okay.
report,
all right.
And I thought, oh my word, how are we going to do this?
Oh, my
All
God.
right. Well, so now that everybody understands what I'm saying,
Yeah.
do we want to wait or do we want to just get that off the table for now?
Wait,
Is there a
Let's wait.
preference? You want to wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I want to address the computer issue. I have an idea.
Yeah.
Potentially, we should be able to get Sue a computer through the CARES Act money. Because the technology for going remote, directly as a result of COVID and not being in buildings is an allowable expense.
Absolutely. We, as a matter of fact, in Groton, we ended up buying 6 or 8 laptops with our CARES money because we wanted to make people their ability to be remote. So that is a legitimate expense. So we can talk to Carter about that.
Yes. And I'd like to make it new because Sue got a used one.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
laptop.
That really upset me last year anyway. So yeah.
So I
We'll
would
make
make
sure it's a new
sure
one.
it's new.
So I'll say this, either through CARES Act money or I'm going to recommend a reserve fund transfer from the FinCom. We're going to get our clerk a new
Right.
computer next year.
We have to. We've got
do.
so much more work.
Start, the hand-me-downs have to end. Right?
Yep.
Well, and I'm not sure if there's what the problem is with it, but something's going on and I don't know if I'm having a cable issue, but it's only been of late. So that's why I brought it up, especially,
They are so cheap right now. It's not
Oh,
even
absolutely.
worth it.
yeah.
It's not
Yep.
even worth trying to figure it out. But it'll probably cost us more to spend
fix it.
time debugging it. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's an old computer.
Well, yeah, they gave us a hand-me-down.
Yes, we did get the.
We
hand-me-down.
asked for a new one and we got a hand-me-down.
We did.
okay.
So, and then there's
That's
only
gonna be
one
good
other,
this year.
Mark, there's only one other thing is that right now through the CARES Act, we are funding the Zoom account.
Yep.
And it ends next 1 year from the end of August.
I'm
So-
hoping that we are not still on Zoom a year from.
I am as well, for sure. But if we did, it would be $45 a month. So I just want to keep that in mind that that would be a new factor. We do
Okay.
have funds. So when I look at everything, I can let you know if that there's enough wiggle room to take care of that or not.
I think.
You know,
it's-
in church, if I can bounce back to one of the questions that you wanted me to ask Carter about. This is a very small warrant.
Yep.
It
Yes,
seems to me that there's no question we'll be able to print it in-house for the copies that we need for the town meeting, but I'll get confirmation on that tomorrow. It'll
Thank
be a
you.
lot cheaper for us.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next topic, and that is our preparation of our annual report that's due in January. And I believe last year, Sue, did you and Irene write our annual
No,
report?
Irene did it.
Irene did it.
Irene, would you like to volunteer to do it again this year?
Sure.
Thank you, Irene. That was easy. You've given us the Zoom account update, minutes approval. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of March 5th, March 23rd, April 6th, and April 8th, and August 26th.
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussion? By roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Dan,
aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and Mark, aye. Moving on to committee member topics. Sue, do you want to give us an update, or you have a meeting in about an hour?
I have a meeting in an hour and I just looked at chat. Eric had to go somewhere, so.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I have a meeting next and we're going to discuss what Carter talked about, the form and everything. And I think it's just going to be a real basic form. It's not going to be complicated at all. But the CIPC has been invited to the CPC because they want to discuss that bylaw tomorrow night. I'm not going to be able to attend that, but hopefully most of the other committee members are. So they're looking at, as you know, CPC was very upset with the bylaw last year. They had a lot of issues with it. So we did make some changes. Hopefully they like it, but we'll see. We're meeting with them tomorrow night. I have no update for the DPW. We were supposed to meet tomorrow night. Something has come up and we have to meet sometime early next week. So I'll have a report Wednesday for you. Usually Andy sends out a written report and updates to us, but I think he's been kind of busy with the library. So I don't know if the fire department made our tour of the building and we received our certificate of occupancy. I don't know that yet, but I'll be able to report back next week. And the school committee, I sent out that packet to you. They have some real challenges and they're very concerned and they're
So
hoping.
you don't want to level fund their budget next year?
No, I don't. So if you just look at that over that packet and they're very concerned about things and they're very upset, rightfully so, because the state seems to be frozen and they can't get any answers back as to what they're going to be receiving from the state. And they have no clue what's going to happen next year. But he did outline a schedule for budgeting for this year. He's going to start the process. And it's very up in the air. They have several challenges. They've got 5 grants, as you can see.
Yep.
But the 2 that he's very concerned about, of course, are the CARES Act grant. They received the $764,000 and they've spent $468,000. And they're also concerned about the per pupil grant, the CVRF grant. And if that money goes away, they're going to be laying off teachers and nurses. I think they had to take on 2 nurses.
When will they hear, Sue, on whether or not those grants?
That's a good question.
No idea.
Knows.
Okay.
Nobody knows, and they've been asking and they've been trying, school committee members have been trying to get answers from their association and their association hasn't been able to come up with anything. So, everything seems to be up in the air and they're very concerned, rightfully so, about where they're going to be just by the end of December.
Okay.
Because that's going to be devastating if they can't get that second round of money or whatever it is. So.
Thank you for those updates. Gopal, is there anything you want to add to Sue's update on the school committee? No? Okay. Moving on to the sustainability committee. I want to apologize. I missed the last meeting. So Barry, do you mind giving the update on that?
Yeah, Sustainability Commission had as its first task to do a benchmarking report, which is a comparison of Grafton against a number of surrounding towns. It's 12 towns for the municipal data, 8 towns for the school data. And it's a matter of what is your population, what's your tax rate, what's your per capita income, per capita tax rate, how much money do we spend on police, fire, administration, blah, blah, blah. The whole report has been completed. It was originally written in Word and then it was converted to PDF. That's with Ed, and Ed is going to do something with it. It was also taken and put into a PowerPoint because the report has about 15, 16 tables showing the comparisons over the years and comparisons of Grafton against the other towns. So it just lends itself to tables and nice little charts. That was converted into a PowerPoint show and in what I call the appropriate format for PowerPoint, which is one table, one bullet each slide. No lengthy paragraphs and gobbledygook and animated, although I wanted to put in some animation. But that has all been done. That's all in Ed's hands right now. And I'm not sure how or when he's going to do that with the select board or with anybody else. But it's all there. And that's it.
Thank you, Barry.
Next, we're going to try as a second stab, we're going to try to do some more in-depth comparison of Grafton with other towns. And there are some numbers, some values that we're chasing after. For example, do we have enough people in the accounting department? Do we have too many? Do we have enough police? Do we have too many? Blah, blah, blah. And what are we paying those salary ranges, et cetera, from each one of those? That's hard to do because number one, you say, well, go to the budget book. Well, Grafton has what I consider to be an exemplary budget book because it's got all the data you could want, all the explanations, and it has it in several different formats. Sorry, I think it's really well done. When I look at other towns, I don't quite find the towns that we're chasing. I don't find that level of explanation, those tables and charts that you really want. In some cases, it's only a spreadsheet that they put and a detailed spreadsheet. So now you got to dig that stuff out. But that's the second thing that we will do. As far as I know, there's no target date on exactly when that will be done. But the preliminary, the first report, the benchmarking report is in Ed's hands and he can do with it what he needs to.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it. Irene, updates on economic development in the library building and planning committee?
Okay, so EDC is working diligently on a couple of things. They continue, of course, to do a really great job of trying to support the local businesses, getting creative with how can we do Shop Grafton this year, but without, some of the more intense, face-to-face interactions. So that's in process and progressing. And of course, they continue to advocate along with others for things that will help, for example, the restaurants, extensions on outdoor dining and any other relaxation of rules that makes their lives easier and allows them to continue. You have to, of course, weigh that against the cons, but that's EDC's role and that's what they've done. They're also working very diligently to, find a buyer for the, old DPW property. I think, and you'll have to forgive me, but I've had so many things happen in the last month or two that I've lost track of one or two of them. I'm trying to remember if it's been finalized, which plan they think makes the most sense. In other words, you don't want to just go say, hey, here's a piece of property. What do you want to do with it? What you'd like to do is have some idea, say, hey, we've got a piece of property. We'd like to see X on it, mixed use, retail, research, whatever, up front and let people know what you would prefer. I think they've made that final determination and they are now looking to find developers who will develop what we think we would like to see. Now, that doesn't mean somebody couldn't come along and convince us to do otherwise. But in general, if that's what you want, that's what you're going to end up getting. So that's where they are.
Okay, what about library? Oh, go Paul, do you have a question?
How big is that property, Irene?
I'm sorry, what?
How big is that property?
Oh, a couple of acres,
It's not very big.
odd shape.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Not,
There's little chunks of it that don't, that belong to somebody else. It's really weird.
Barry, do you know?
No, I had a different question.
Go ahead.
it's an odd shape, but there's a lot of wetlands, Cole Paul, so
Yeah.
that takes away a lot what they could do with the
Right.
property.
Go ahead, Barry.
Irene,
Yep.
I'm not sure where I saw this. I guess wandering around somewhere. Were you guys going to put together some kind of measurables for the EDC coordinator?
Yes, we're still working on that.
Okay.
We have some that we're gonna do. One of the things that needs to happen once, and it's maybe next year, once we have a TA and or an assistant TA, who exactly does the EDC coordinator, John Allen, who does he report to?
Okay.
Because his budget at one time was in the planning board. So is he reporting to them or is he reporting to the TA? Who would do his quote job review? To the best of my knowledge, it's not us, the commission members, but maybe it would be, I don't know. So that's kind of an open question. But even regardless of that, yes, we as a committee are trying to come up with some things that will allow us. John has been helping with that. He's provided a list of the, what he does, his activities. So that is a work in progress. And I'll be honest, I'm using kind of as my benchmark, Westboro. Because one of the reasons we adopted this 3 years ago was because, we had been told that Westboro hired someone and they hired someone full-time. And they've had great results. So we're like, well, we're going to try it. So we got our feet wet, so to speak, by hiring somebody half-time. So I'm still using them as the benchmark. So what do they do? What is their job description for their person? That sort of thing.
Irene, the economic, John Allen was always reporting to Joe Layden. So
Okay. So planning board.
it was under his budget and he reported to him
Right.
and worked with him.
All right, you want to give us a little update on the library, Irene?
Yep, library's cruising.
Looks really good.
Yeah, it's looking great. Everything,
Any new surprises?
some miracle, no new surprises, thank the Lord.
Knocking on
The
wood.
only real surprise is that we're still on schedule.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because finding all that soil kind of helped to the extent that that was considered critical work. We didn't have to shut down. So we were told, no, you can't leave a gaping hole with contaminated soil in the ground. So we were allowed to continue working on that. And just about the time we were saying, okay, now we got to shut down for COVID, the governor said, okay, construction projects can reopen again. So we ended up not losing a lot of time.
That's awesome.
Thing that's happened is materials were ordered and are sitting there waiting. We're literally in the position of having stuff we need already there, ready to go. So again, we're in surprisingly good shape in that regards. Sue, question?
I just wanted to ask if the building's going to be closed up by winter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Barry?
The addition looks like it's gigantic compared to the original building. Do you know what the comparative size is?
I want to say it's basically doubling the size of the library.
It looks like it's tripling or quadrupling.
Well, there's something you have to keep in mind. The basement on the original building is not visible.
Right.
Okay, so it's a little bit deceptive in that regard.
There's extra square footage down
It's
there.
literally, when it's done, it's going to be literally 50-50, 50% new, 50% old.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that. That's just kind of off the top of my head.
Thank you, Irene. I appreciate the updates. Nothing to report on the next item on the agenda, so we'll jump right down to the Town Administrator Screening Committee. Our first meeting is Monday, September 28th. So Heather and I will be attending the first meeting of the Screening Committee. The moderator has made his appointments. The other 5 committees have made their appointments, or 4 committees have made their appointments. So the committee is full. We will start Monday according to the charter. Once the Screening Committee meets to organize, we have 150 days, according to the charter, to get our finalists to the select board. We will be working with Community Paradigm Associates. The select board hired a consultant firm to help us with the search. They met with the select board last night and walked through the process. That they have a lot of experience in searches. So I think we're going to be well served with them assisting us. And the one concern that I have, and I'm going to reach out to Ed tomorrow to talk to him about it, is that Community Paradigm wants to meet with the select board to get feedback from them in terms of what they're looking for the next town administrator, which is very, very important. And the select board decided last night they were going to do a workshop. I'm hoping they schedule that workshop sooner rather than later, because that which goes into the community profile, which is used to advertise the position. So I think everybody needs to understand that we meet Monday night as a screening committee, the clock starts ticking, and we need to be ready within 150 days to get finalists to the select board. So I'm hoping the select board meets sooner rather than later to give their feedback so that that community profile can get drafted. So that's where we are with that. Any questions, Barry?
It strikes me that the set of goals, et cetera, objectives that you're going to come up with for the search would apply nicely to an annual performance appraisal of the town administrator, which is
That's a
something
good
that you
point.
have to do anyway.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
I say that because I've noticed that every year that that the select board comes up to this performance appraisal timeframe, they don't really have a list of what the person was supposed to accomplish, which is so different from my experience in corporate America, where you had a set of objectives and then you had the other things you had to do. And you were measured on both the objectives and the other things you had to do.
Having just gone through that in Groton, that's exactly how I'm reviewed on my goals for the previous year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, if they're going to hire somebody that they want focus on the budget, that they want focus on economic development, that's what they should grade them on the following year. I agree with you 100%. That's something we could pass along for advice wise to the select board.
But I can save you this 150 days. Just go down to that town that's on 395 and get that town administrator.
He's a former assistant here, right? Oh, sorry. I didn't
Cut
hear
that
that.
out. Cut that out.
I didn't hear that. Yeah, cut that out. I think Irene, did you have a question?
I'm just going to add something. I know something that's I've only become aware of it in the last couple of years. I don't know how long it's been happening, but I know with superintendents, school superintendents, they're kind of expected to come in with, my first year, an entry plan, I think they literally call it. I don't know if that's done with TAs or not, but it might be something worth finding out and looking at. And I think sometimes an initial outline or draft of it is even used in the interview process, but don't quote me on that. But so put a little bit of the onus on the incoming person as well. So that's just my thoughts on that.
Okay. I think that's everything on the agenda. I don't know, Sue, do you know the outcome? Did the select board support the library on the fines? Releasing the fines? Does
Yes.
anybody know that? They did support that? Okay. And we didn't get a first quarter expenditure report, did we?
Yeah.
Yes, Barry did send it over.
We got a period 1.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because
July.
July.
Oh, first
Even though
quarter.
this
I
is
thought first
September.
quarter.
We
I
only got the one for
apologize.
July.
Mhm.
And it is thorough, and it includes revenues, really revenue at the front end,
Yeah.
not necessarily the revenue that is supposed to be collected by each individual department. And it includes all of the, now I forget the name of it, all of the account numbers, the ones, the 20s, the 80s, everything.
Yep.
These guys are good.
Did you
Awesome.
ask for that, Barry, particularly?
Well, yes, I did. And they
Okay.
responded the next day.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're getting the big bucks for, Barry.
Yes.
They better respond the next day.
So Barry, if I ask for that, oh, excuse me, go Paul.
No, go ahead.
If I request that for the end of October, for example, we should be able to get exactly what you received or what you requested?
Should be able to, yeah, I'll request it again. I get a kick out of getting that stuff. The one thing I did not get is the Excel version that Tina had provided. Tina was the assistant.
Yeah.
She's coming back. And Tina had also, because that spreadsheet is humongous. It's
Right.
got like 58 columns across and then a whole bunch of rows down. She did a pivot table and yanked all of the important stuff out, and it was perfect.
It's a lot of work.
The pivot table was not a lot of work. It was very good.
It's excellent.
Gopal, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to build on what Irene said, and also your comment that we need to figure out in 150 days and present the finalists for the TA. Is if the select board is going to give criteria saying this is what we want out of a TA, means, and to build on what Barry said in terms of using that criteria for performance reviews, what I have found effective and what I've done is give, as part of the interview process, the lay of the land for the candidates and say, this is what you're going to walk into.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
Well, that's what Gopal, that's what the community profile will do. It'll talk about issues and needs of the town.
Got it.
And then the questions that the search committee will ask the candidates will be based on the needs of the town that the select board set up. And then
Yeah.
we will take that information and hopefully candidates will rise to the top that meet those criteria. So that's how the process will work. So that's the community profile is very, very important. And that's why I'm hoping the select board meets sooner rather than later with Community Paradigm to get that going, because we really need that. 150 days may seem like a long time, but when you're doing a search and you're in the age of COVID and you're trying to do everything remotely or whatever, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So I hope the
That is
select board
Q4.
understand the urgency of meeting with Community Paradigm. Sue, did you have
And
a
it's
question?
Q4 with Thanksgiving and Christmas. So
Exactly, that's true. Those are in there as well. Sue, did you have another
I
question?
just wanted to kind of just say to you, find a TA that's a very good communicator and someone that will always send the select board updates on major projects so they don't have to be asking for it all the time. And someone that can communicate with the finance committee.
Well,
Really,
can I just say something? I'm glad you said that, because I just want to say it was the most information we've ever received from a town administrator at a finance committee meeting happened tonight. So
Correct.
Andy and Gopal, what you saw tonight was a typical relationship of a town administrator with the finance committee. Carter was awesome. And I can't thank him enough for his willingness to work with us, reach out to us, meet with us, have us included in the establishments of the revenues. Sue, you've been on the FinCom the
Yep.
longest. Have you ever seen that? No.
No.
So this is the kind of town administrator you want. You want to have somebody that works cooperatively with the FinCom. Yes, Gopal,
why is he not part of the candidate list?
because he's retired.
Okay.
And the select board voted that whoever they hired as the interim cannot be a
Right.
candidate for the final position.
Yeah, he
Carter
was
is-
awesome. He was
Yeah,
very
he was
professional.
very good. That was a great meeting with him tonight, and I'm very excited about working with him through this budget process. You're going to see what it's like to work with a cooperative town administrator. So,
I have a question because I was looking at the, the expenditures for July. And as of July 31, they hadn't made the lump sum payment to the previous town administrator yet. I wonder, I don't know who would look for this. And of course, Rebecca has now left. We don't have a town accountant, so I'm not sure who this falls on. Be the select board, maybe they've already done this. I was just curious, given the various things that have changed over the years from when Tim started. He started on a certain date, so now you've got a 12-month year, from start date, to 12 months. But then contracts kept getting renewed that weren't necessarily on that anniversary. So I want to make sure that there was not double counting
there
no,
was.
of
There wasn't.
vacation time or,
there wasn't.
fee.
There wasn't. I can tell you there wasn't.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't like,
Yep.
oh, well, the contract ended April 30th, so now all of a sudden we're going to give him this again. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, but what he was paid out was negotiated appropriately and he
Right,
was paid
okay.
what he was owed.
I
he
just
was
wanted
owed.
to make sure, because I'm thinking, who
Yeah,
would be
no, it's a good question.
that? All the people that would be looking for it are gone. So, okay, so long as that was done properly, then that was my question.
Ed did have, Ed Brisby had a comment. We're meeting with the Community Paradigm on 10/1.
10-1. Oh, so that's a week. Okay,
Next week.
good,
That's a week.
good.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're doing that. Okay, is there anything else, Barry?
Mark, in your experience,
Yes.
what I noticed, an example recently, Truro had an opening for a town manager, and they had applicants from Colorado.
Yep.
Now, one of the guys said that he had experience in Truro. The other guy said, "Where's Truro?" How common is it for people to move multiple states for a new town administrator job?
It's happened. It's happened. Go ahead, Heather.
I was on the search committee for when Tim was ultimately hired, and we had one woman from, I think she was from Colorado, and we had one
We had
applicant from California.
We had one applicant from Chicago too, because I was on. the-
Yeah, you were on it too. Yeah. So we definitely, we had people, we had 2 or 3 who actually were going to travel out of state
Right.
to come. Yeah.
Why?
Because they want to work with you, Barry. I can't see any other reason other than that.
Well, they're headed back to California then.
Okay, we want to give Sue a break in between her meetings. Is there anything else? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. And just one last thing, next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Sue will send out the agenda and the Zoom invites.
Okay.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn.
All those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
go Paul,
Aye.
Andy.
Reluctantly, because this has been a great time.
So I was going to ask you, did you enjoy your first meeting of the Finance Committee?
Very much so.
Good.
I
Welcome
get
aboard.
paid extra for the humor.
Well, and the word gobbledygook is a Finance Committee term that you need to understand and remember. Sue,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather.
Hi.
All right, good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Great
Good
meeting
night.
tonight.